going on, my friends? Welcome to another great episode of the Arrington Gavin Show. I am your guy, your host, Arrington Gavin. And look, this is your go to spot for sharp insights, bold opinions, and unfiltered takes on the biggest stories of the day. Whether it's politics, pop culture, sports, or the latest buzz, we're diving deep and keeping it real. So do me a favor, kick back, stay informed, and get ready to join the conversation, my friends. How is everybody doing? Y'all doing good? Well, that's awesome because I'm happy that you took the time out your busy schedule to join yet another conversation with your friend, your homie, and you could be doing so much other things, with your precious time, and you took the time to just kick back and tune into the program. Look, we are a grassroots, independent, unbiased platform that is continuing to grow every step of the way, and we couldn't do it without the help of you, the listeners, the viewers out there. So I truly appreciate that. Be sure to tune into the Arrington Gavin Show weeknights, available on all podcast platforms, the streaming platforms of YouTube as well as Rumble. Our channel is the Arrington Gavin Show. Our YouTube channel is R Smooth Club Media. You can also tune into the program uh, through our radio affiliate WDJY 99.1 FM Straight Talk out of Dallas, Georgia, as well as WDJYFM.com. So multiple ways you can tune into the program and can keep up to speed with the latest episodes. Um I want to shout out uh some friends of mine. I had the opportunity to moderate a school board forum here in my hometown of Chesapeake, Virginia, a few nights ago. And I would love to shout out the host of this school board forum, the Chesapeake Branch NAACP, as well as the Delta Sigma Theta Sorority uh, Incorporated, the Chesapeake and Virginia Beach chapter. I believe the alumni chapter for hosting it, and I was asked to moderate. It was truly an honor. I got the chance to speak with some of the candidates running for school board. And I mentioned here on the program, we keep on paying attention at what's happening on the federal level, federal this, federal that, the presidential race. That's the only most important one. That's not the case. It all comes down to what's happening in your backyard. So that comes down to your local school board, city council, your mayor, your mayor's race. Excuse me. Then you have your state races, your delegates, state senators. Like that is the most important races, because that really affects what's happening in your backyard. So I had the opportunity to speak with them, and again, we have to understand some of the biggest stories of our that's happening right now in our world is involving school safety, education, teacher work pay. What else? The list goes on and on. Corruption happens in the school board. All right, corruption can happen in school districts and the school system. So best believe it is just as much of a store of an importance to understand who you're voting in your school board than it is who you're voting in the presidential race. Because at the end of the day, it starts with our youth. It starts with our children. And I don't know if y'all been watching the same stuff I've been watching, but when I turn the TV on, I'm hearing about, oh, this shooting just happened. Oh, and the victim was a 14-year-old, or hell, even a 6-year-old, and this happened in school, and a student brought a gun to school, and you had to do this, bomb threats are happening. Like all this stuff is happening in school, and it's like, wow, the world we live in. You got to put it in prayer. So I was truly honored to have a conversation and join a lineup of great candidates. It's a tough race. Great candidates, because we have a total of 9 school board members. I believe it's around 4 seats out of the 9 that is up for re-election. I could be wrong, could be a little more than that, but it was a great conversation, and later on in the week, I might have the opportunity to interview some more candidates on the local level, which I'm very excited. I'll get to speak with some candidates running for mayor in some of the local cities as well as city council. And I've done that in the past too. So very excited because we are heading. It is crunch time, right? It is crunch time. So we want to make sure that we have all those get their message across, share their platforms, and we want to also share with you all the listeners and the viewers out there that happens to possibly be living in the Hampton Roads, Virginia area. And it's not even a case that you even have to live in the area, because the messaging that you will hear from these candidates can spread out from all different states and cities across the world. So again, looking forward to doing that here on the show. Before I move forward, I have to acknowledge some of our proud supporters of the Arrington Gavin show, because without them, we can not make any of this possible. Look, shout out to my friends over at Priority Ford. My friend Mr. James Church, who's the president and general manager of that location. He will keep you ready, keep you secured with an amazing vehicle. Look, I've just joined the American Made. I've just joined the Ford family about a year some change ago, after driving a foreign car for majority of my life. And I will say, Priority Ford, their team of people, make sure that you're in the best shape, and making sure you don't have any complications with your vehicles. Ford is a trusted brand. And again, Mr. Church and his staff keeps you well informed, and making sure that you leave out there not only in style, but make sure you leave out there with a safe vehicle, and a vehicle of your choosing. For more information about this amazing dealership, about Priority Ford, look, you can visit them online at priorityford.com, or if you happen to be in the Hampton Roads, Virginia area, look, stop by to their dealership at 3420 North Military Highway in Norfolk, Virginia, or you can call them at 757-255-8935. Again, that number is 757-255-8935. Or again, you can check them out online at priorityford.com for more information. All right, my friends, look, we're going to take a quick commercial break. When we come back, we'll have more here on the Arrington Gavin Show. Don't go anywhere, and do me a favor, do not change that dial.
You know, just like a winning team evolves throughout the season, so does your beard. I'm Arrington Gavin, proud CEO of Rugged Evolution Beard Care. With our premium oils, balms, and grooming tools, it's everything you need to level up your beard game. Whether you're a seasoned pro or a rookie, Rugged Evolution is the new smooth. Order now and dominate the beard game like never before. Rugged Evolution Beard Care, because every beard deserves to be legendary.
Welcome back, my friends, to the Arrington Gavin Show. I am your host, Arrington Gavin. Thank you so much for staying with us. Look, we're going to get it started like we do every show with our fun fact of the day. So let's get it going with our fun fact. Did you know that Coca-Cola consumers will pay more to drink less ounces? Okay, let me repeat that. Coca-Cola consumers will pay more to drink less ounces. It says here that the consumers prefer smaller packaging of their beverage and are willing to pay more per ounce. While soda consumptions is declining in the US, Coca-Cola had a net revenue of $33 billion worldwide last year. I mean, talk about vanity of sizing. I'll tell you. So that was our fun fact. You know what? I'm not crazy about Coca-Cola, but see, my wife and I, we invest in a lot of the zero sugar sodas. So we have literally nothing but zero sugar ginger ale and zero sugar Coca-Cola. Now she just added the vanilla Coca-Cola. Now I've yet to try that. She's trying to convince me to drink some. I'm like, nah, I don't do too much of those of the flavors. I don't know, and it's probably totally different from like I don't know if you remember cream soda. I hated cream soda. Ugh. So to me, I'm like, I could just imagine vanilla what the vanilla Coke can taste like. Um, again, I'm a ginger ale guy. I can have ginger ale all day, every day, breakfast, lunch, dinner. Um, but I will say another guilty pleasure soda that I love is Pepsi Mango. Oh my goodness, Pepsi Mango is one underestimated beverage in my opinion. I don't care what y'all say. Coca Cola, excuse me, not Coca Cola. Pepsi Mango is the stuff. So that is that is my go to soda beverage. But you know, it's hard because I try to stay away from sodas because really sodas are not good for you. But you know, the way the stomach is feeling lately, I'm always having a soda with my meals because it just helps kind of burp it out that kind of help it helps open up the stomach a little bit. So gotta have a soda. Gotta have a soda. All right, guys, let's get it going with our first story of the day. Let's see here. Which one we're going to start with first? So, look, as a wrestling fan, I've always been a fan of this guy. Well, you had to love to hate this guy. I'll say it like that. So, for all you wrestling heads out there, we all know who Vince McMahon is. Vincent Kennedy McMahon, the chairman, former chairman of World Wrestling Entertainment, founder of the WWF and World Wrestling Entertainment, probably one of the most influential and greatest minds in uh, sports entertainment as well as professional wrestling. So he has a documentary out now entitled, I believe it's titled Mr. McMahon. Titled Mr. McMahon. Let me go ahead and grab this. I'm going to grab this graphic for you all that are watching so you can check this out. Let me get it. Let me get it all set for you guys. And lately, uh, Vince McMahon, who I believe is 78, 79, um, he had been in the news and not for the right reason. There have been countless allegations, sexual assault allegations, pretty graphic allegations that had caused him to either uh, step down from his position or take a leave of absence from work, and it just wasn't looking good for business. Why? Because they are at a time now where WWE is probably the most revenue based entertainment sport in the world, not just the United States, but nationwide and worldwide. They have sold out pay-per-views in Dubai. They have sold pay-per-views out in Puerto Rico. They sell out football arenas not once but two nights in a row. You hear me? Now I remember when you had your pay-per-views like at still quite large, um, quite large venues, entertainment venues, and it was like, wow, this is dope. This is dope. Your typical uh uh I don't know, like domes. In Hampton Roads, they used to sell out, at the Norfolk Scope, which is one of our larger entertainment venues, or the Hampton Coliseum, or the Chartway Arena. You know, but large events. But now, oh, they've outnumbered those. They've outgrown those venues. They're selling out football stadiums and adding extra seating to these stadiums. So recently, this new docuseries titled Mr. McMahon shows the behind the scenes, the stuff that people never see of the former titan in professional wrestling. Now, he is a billionaire, very wealthy individual. He's always played the villain as the mean boss that gets his way, takes advantage because, hey, I am the boss. The roles he's played in wrestling in the past, like the storyline has been, I'm the boss. I have to you know, let me blackmail the female wrestlers, or there was just a time where, and this was, before Me Too movement, which really would have got canceled. Now he had the women, they were successful by showing more skin rather than showing their athletic talent. And a lot of times the female wrestlers were, there was storylines where they were having affairs with the boss, and it was, you can understand, it's like, okay, it's a good storyline, but it was very non-child friendly. Let me just say that. And then it turns out, behind closed doors, these were allegations, like this was real stuff that a lot of the female wrestlers were scared to speak on because they didn't want to lose their job. Once again, abuse of power. So as I continue, let me read this article that's reported by the Hollywood Reporter. It says here that Vince McMahon slams the Mr. McMahon Netflix docu series ahead of the release, which is currently out right now. It says here, former WWE CEO Vince McMahon says that he hasn't seen the Netflix docu series about his life, and he is not happy with it. So if he hasn't seen it, how is he not happy with it? I mean, he obviously signed up for it. In a statement posted on his social media accounts, the wrestling promoter said that he recently screened an early partial cut. Okay. And that based on what he has seen so far, this doc falls short and takes the predictable path of conflating the Miss McMahon character with my true self. Vince titled in promos alone make that evident. The Netflix docuseries, uh, which has already aired, follows McMahon's career as he took his father's regional wrestling promotion and turned it into a global entertainment firm. However, it is also explores the dark side of the business, from the steroid abuse scandal that rocked the company in the 1990s to allegations of sexual misconduct that led to his resignation earlier this year. And I quote, a lot has been misrepresented or left out entirely in effort to leave viewers intentionally confused. The producers use typical edit tricks without of context footage and dated sound bites, etc., to distort the viewer's perception and support a deceptive narrative, he wrote. In attempt to further their misleading account, the producers used a lawsuit based on an affair I ended as evidence that I am in fact Mr. McMahon. He went to add to that, I don't regret participating in the Netflix documentary. The producers had the opportunity to tell an objective story about my life and the incredible business I built, which were equally filled with excitement, drama, fun, and fair amount of controversy and life lessons. I hope the viewer will keep an open mind and remember that there are two sides to every story. Here's why I'm gonna call BS on Mr. McMahon. So he already agreed to this documentary, and like so many people, which I beg to differ, uh, when they always say they've worked with it, 90% of the time they're like, "Oh, I was told differently. I felt betrayed because they didn't give you the full story. They're not telling you the full truth, and this and then the other. And I'm upset with the producer and this and then the other." Guess what? You signed up for it. How many docu series have you seen in the past where people will have that response? If this was your reaction, then guess what? You shouldn't have signed up for it. Mr. McMahon, with all due respect, your career is pretty effed up. Okay, you've been involved in more controversy than you have success. Now, don't get me wrong, your success expands a lot, but it only takes but one story to really say, okay, he had all this success, but remember that time? Guess what? You had multiple of those stories. You had as I read earlier, the steroid case in the 90s, sexual misconduct and sexual allegations. That was multiple times. Okay. So don't try and say that, oh, the people have to keep it with an open mind. Yes, I understand. Innocent until proven guilty. But we also know there have been some settlements too. So you know how I feel about settlements. To me, settlements is still a loss at the end of the day. Um, so I would like to, I think that the producers and writers did their job. I think the documentary is going to be extremely successful, especially because wrestling in general is, and I'll say it again, is one of the most watched um programs to tune into on your television screen, whether if it's the big screen, the small screen, wherever. You have right now the WWE, which is led by Triple H, Paul Levesque, I believe his last name, his full name is, but we know him as Triple H. His wife Stephanie McMahon. Then you also have the other company, AEW, which is second largest and second leading on as far as wrestling promotions. Then you have your uh TNA. All right. So you have multiple platforms. You have multiple platforms and different promotions. Here in the Hampton Roads area, we have VCW, Virginia Championship Wrestling. They're small base, but they sell out on an average about 500 tickets per show. That's pretty large for an independent wrestling promotion. Shout out to my good friend, Mr. Jerry Stephanesis. I love wrestling. I still continue to tune into wrestling. I think it's a great um it's great to watch, especially for little kids. I mean, they have the action figures. The storylines are great because it's all about the hero fighting the villain. You're always going to get the hero fighting the villain. You get great. It's almost like a soap opera. You have love stories. You have betrayal. You have turn of events. You have so much stories that occurs. You have humor, right? You have athleticism. You get to witness and entertainment. It's dope. But again, this guy right here, Vince McMahon, you could almost compare him to, I don't know, former President Donald Trump, because they're friends, very controversial, very stern old men, and with a lot of power. And trust me, when a Trump documentary into this capacity comes out, he's probably going to share the same thing. They don't give you the whole story. They don't give you the full truth. You know, one side to every story, one side to every story. That's all I'm going to say about that. So I'm going to say about that. So again, all my friends out there, listeners, the viewers out there tuning in, be sure to check out Mr. McMahon. It's a docu series available now on Netflix. I highly recommend to check it out, because if you count the multiple documentaries about about Vince McMahon, there is not a lot to say. Okay, I've tuned in this. I've watched this. There's not a lot of documentaries about Vince McMahon. I think this is really cool. I think this is going to garner a lot of money for Netflix. Netflix has been winning, in my opinion, with the series lately, docu series and just other series. So I think this will be a great one. So I highly recommend to check it out. I'll come back to this documentary and share it on Arrington's movie review, and we can review it on soon here on the program. So let me see how we look on time. We're gonna take a quick commercial break, my friends. When we come back, we'll have more here on the Arrington Gavin Show.
You know, just like a winning team evolves throughout the season, so does your beard. I'm Arrington Gavin, proud CEO of Rugged Evolution Beard Care. With our premium oils, balms, and grooming tools, it's everything you need to level up your beard game. Whether you're a seasoned pro or a rookie, Rugged Evolution is the new smooth. Order now and dominate the beard game like never before. Rugged Evolution Beard Care, because every beard deserves to be legendary.
What is going on, my friends? Welcome back to the Arrington Gavin Show. Look, before we move on with our topics and stories here, I would love to shout out Damar Hamlin. For those who are unfamiliar who Damar Hamlin is currently the starting strong safety for the Buffalo Bills. And if you can't recall, around I'm gonna say 2 seasons ago, 2 or 3 years ago, Damar Hamlin suffered cardiac arrest during a live a game. I'm forgetting which squad they were playing, but it was televised. It was a scary sight to see because he collapsed on the field, and it was like it was a scary sight to see. Turned out he had cardiac arrest. He has since then, I think the season after that was mainly a recovery season, getting back to the gist of things, walking, exercising, making sure everything is safe and and secured. He received a lot of philanthropy awards because he was fighting against victims that have suffered with cardiac arrest, and just making sure taking care of your body. He started foundations and so on and so on. He became a hometown hero in Buffalo. He has since then had a full recovery, was eligible to practice, and then became eligible to even play in the game. Guess what? This 2024 NFL season, he became a starter. You hear me? He became a starter. And this was a recent game when they played the Jacksonville Jaguars. And let me play you guys this soundbite. For those who are watching, you can check out this highlight that occurred for Mr. Hamlin. And I tell you, watching this almost brought a tear to my eye. I kid you not, it almost brought a tear to my eye. Let's see if I can.
Lawrence on the move, launching down the middle, intercepted. Overthrew the man in Damar Hamlin. A huge roar as one of the most popular, inspiring Bills comes up with the takeaway. Things go from awful to worse for this Jaguar offense.
Right idea, right guy, Brian Thomas Jr., bad execution. Big play.
So I just wanted to
on the move.
show you all
Game of his career last time out. How sweet is this moment here in Buffalo?
Walking miracle.
Yeah.
That's an incredible moment for Damar Hamlin.
Mm. Mm. So I tell you, like I said, not a dry eye in sight. You heard the commentator say a walking miracle. Cardiac arrest now. Now I thought it was, he was taking a gamble just by continuing on his NFL career, because it's just any cardiac arrest, man. You just don't mess around. You just don't play. You don't go back to playing one of the most vicious, intense sports in the world. And so he recovered. He scored his first career interception, and it looks like the man is doing good, and he has a great career ahead. This was his fourth season in the NFL. And again, just shout out to Damar Hamlin. Remember that name, y'all. Damar Hamlin, number three, one of the most popular and recognized Bills players on that squad. So yeah, just wanted to move on from that. And before yes, want to moving on to our next story. We continue to see, and I feel like a little bit of every show I'm going to talk just a little bit about Sean Diddy Combs, because it's so much that is occurring, and it is it's not a pretty sight. So recently there's been a number of prominent CEOs from large companies that all of a sudden has stepped down, has resigned. So I'll show you the video of these. I'll show you the graphic of the names and CEOs that have stepped down since Diddy's arrest. And let me see right here. Okay, so it says here that Nike CEO has stepped down. Head of Sony Music Nashville has stepped down. CEO of Warner Music in Japan has stepped down. CEO of 300 Entertainment has stepped down. So the question is, why? Out of this very moment, this specific time, it's all about timing. This specific moment, why now? Why are you stepping down? You guys are not that old. You're not retirement age. Now, I understand you made a lot of money, but let's be honest. Successful men, they want to continue to make that money. If they're doing stuff that they love, hey, look, why stop it, right? Why stop it? So, again, one of the biggest things involved in this Diddy court case is the quote unquote freak off parties. Again, Diddy's on trial for racketeering and sex trafficking. Those are major allegations. I believe one alone he could serve pretty much life in prison. Okay. And if any of these men, I'm not, I'm just saying, I said if any of these men happen to have any involvement, is that why they're stepping down, or is it just a coincidence? Like, oh, look, it's just something in the water. I just decided to hit up my friends and be like, hey, look, let's all just resign. Let's all just step down and so let's all just merge and start a business together. Like, something's not right. Something's a little fishy. And that's when I mentioned on one of the previous programs of who else, what other prominent names will be involved or mentioned in this Diddy case. Will he confess, and will he toss out some more names to lower his sentence? We don't know. It's ongoing. It's an ongoing investigation. It's an ongoing court case. But again, it truly is a fall from grace. A person who had it all. Diddy spoke about it. He shared a lot about it. For years, he had it all. You hear me? And now all that stuff is just leaving his hands. Now he still has his health, still has his family. Money isn't everything. But for that man, it was success, money, fame. That was everything to him. To me, I always say, when you're a celebrity that wears shades in the daytime, like shades, and if you wear shades inside, you think you're the stuff. You really think you're the stuff. So yeah, more and more stuff will come in the public eye from this uh court case involving Sean Diddy Combs. But like I said, as of right now, it ain't looking pretty, my friends. It is not looking pretty. Moving on to another story. Recently, former New York Governor Andrew Cuomo, who is he initially had resigned from his term as governor due to, again, allegations, sexual allegations being brought to him. And he has, I think he started like a podcast. He will appear on radio and other outlets here and there. But he is he's speaking out a lot against the Democratic Party and certain I guess policies that was brought by the Democratic Party. But he's still a strong Democrat. I will say that he hasn't left the Democratic Party. But it says here, and I quote, defund the police are the 3 dumbest words ever uttered in politics. I have to say, Mr. Governor, I agree with you. I think defund the police was a dumb thing to bring up. Now, I feel as though that emotions was high around that period, and people were just pissed, especially people of color were pissed the fact that there were so many, there was too many stories to report of unarmed black men or unarmed people of color that were gunned down by officers, gunned down by careless acts, gunned down by lack of training, right? Just extremely careless. And some could say gunned down by officers that might have had some racial bias to it as well. But I don't think that defunding the police was a smart idea. See, that was brought up by the strong progressives in the Democratic Party. Okay. Now, currently, we've seen conservatives defund law enforcement because they want to defund the FBI. So it's like back and forth. But I've said here many times, we support law enforcement. I think too that you can't say that you're defunding the police, and then when danger occurs, who you gonna call? Ghostbusters? No, you're gonna call the police. All right. So defunding is the wrong take to do. In my opinion, they needed more funding for training. And sometimes, to me, it's common sense training, not even financial training, to say, okay, we're going to pay for more equipment, more tools, more more mental health screenings, to really understand, to see what's going on in the mind of an officer, especially an up and coming officer. Because one thing I get irritated when I listen or read stories about this officer getting in trouble with this or arresting this person, and this is now another controversial story that's being played all across mainstream media, finds out that the officer was suspended from previous precincts or previous departments, or he was suspended before, like a few weeks ago, and now he's doing this. Like, to me, when you have one instant of an officer getting in trouble, especially for something that is really, really major, cut ties with him. No, none of that administrative leave crap. No, they need to suffer the consequences, because if it continues to be an ongoing thing, what are we doing here, people? What are we doing? But what I mean by common sense training is I have former high school classmates that I graduated high school with that are in law enforcement, right? They were one of those classmates. I'm not going to say any names, but one of them I would say has maybe had one black friend or had black classmates, but would never consider them close friends. So it's like, okay, you can't have this individual, white or black, but right now I'm a talk about the racial aspect of it. You can't have a white officer that has never had a black friend a day in their life to patrol or protect inner cities that are predominantly black, because guess what, they're not familiar with that environment. They're not familiar with how to communicate with people of color. All right, they're not familiar with the slang, they're not familiar with the culture. So sometimes everybody looks like a threat to that individual. Now here's what I think they need to do. Have someone that is from born and raised from that era, from that area, so that, okay, look, they can explain, they can teach that, hey, look, this is what this means, this is what that. To me, that's all. That's the training. Have people that are familiar with certain neighborhoods, certain demographics, so that officers won't already kind of judge a book by its cover. Because when the heat of the moment occurs, they have to think on their feet so quickly, and instead of making a careless mistake or a careless act, they're like, wait a minute, I remember such and such telling me this is that, and X, Y, and Z. And I'll be honest, y'all, not everybody should be a police officer. Not everybody is capable of being a police officer. Not everybody's capable of owning a gun. Not everybody is capable of having that badge, that power. It's a lot of power with that badge. There's a lot of power having a gun and handcuffs. All right. Not everybody is fit to be an officer. I'll be blatantly honest about that. But again, I will say that defunding the police was the worst thing and is the worst thing to ever say or to be brought out to the public. It is. So again, I agree with former Governor Andrew Cuomo on that. Moving on to our next story, which this is pretty interesting. So RFK, Robert F. Kennedy Jr., recently asked Supreme Court to restore his name on New York's ballot. Now, last time I checked, RFK suspended his campaign in order to because he publicly endorsed, and he's a part of one of some team on the under the Trump administration right now, along with former Democratic Congresswoman Tulsi Gabbard. So it says here that RFK asked Supreme Court to restore his name on the New York ballot. Says here he was asked to reinstate his name despite ending his campaign and endorsing former President Donald Trump, the independent presidential candidate. The independent presidential candidate was disqualified from New York's ballot in August after a judge determined that Kennedy's connection to the New York address existed only on paper and were maintained for the sole purpose of maintaining his voter registration and political standing in the state. Now, it says here that, hold on, there we go. says here that lower courts have rejected his attempts to challenge the decision. In his emergency appeal to the Supreme Court, Kennedy argued that his supporters in the state have a constitutional right to have Kennedy's place on the ballot and to vote for him. Whether he is campaigning for the vote or not, it's a quote I'm about to read. The address on Kennedy's petition was and is entirely immaterial, both to voters and to New York. His attorneys wrote, arguing the none of Kennedy's supporters were being misled by the address. The Katona, New York address belongs to a friend of Kennedy's. The friend testified that Kennedy paid her $500 a month for the room beginning in May. Both the friend and Kennedy's court filing said that the presidential candidate has only spent one night at the home. Jeez Louise. Justice Sonia Sotomayor, who is handling the emergency appeal, requested a response from New York elections officials by later during the week, by I believe Wednesday afternoon. Kennedy's campaign did not respond to a request for comment. Kennedy, who was on Capitol Hill recently, did not respond to questions about the appeal. Here's what's getting me confused. Kennedy, are you supporting Trump, or are you trying to play like a low key, like sneak and take votes away from him? Because here's the thing. You're not taking away liberal votes. You're not. Your demo is the MAGA voters are, right-wing conservatives. Even liberal conservatives are not really leaning your way. All right. Now you might gravitate to some of the undecideds, but for you to stay in, or for you to ask to be left on a ballot, to me, I feel like that's a bit disservice to your friend Donald Trump there, in my opinion. Also, you don't have a residency in a state if you only stayed there for one night. Like, it's not even a vacation. So I think that's quite I think that's interesting to bring up. But as I continue to read here, it says Kennedy suspended his campaign in August and said he will remove his name from the ballot in 10 states. That was the only states he had access to, probably, including the 7 battleground states where he thought his candidacy would harm Trump's chances of winning the election. Now, Kennedy said his name would remain on the ballot in the non-battleground states and encouraged voters there to still vote for him. Again, this whole messing with people's voting voting right is stupid. It really is. I'm not a fan of it. I think it's a disservice to a lot of people saying just vote for me because this state really doesn't matter, but those battleground states, please take me off of those because Trump needs to win those battleground states. But the non-battleground, you can just still vote for me. It's okay. Look, a vote's a vote, regardless if it's a battleground or not a battleground state. So for you to encourage that, like I said, you're not taking away votes from the liberals. You're taking away votes from conservatives and people in support of Trump. So he's there just for the press to see his name in bright and shining lights. He wants a job so bad in the White House. Again, he's quite an interesting guy. I know that Thanksgiving table and Christmas table is looking mighty weird this upcoming year. It really is. Maybe he can come by bringing a dead bear or something, and they can enjoy that instead of bringing a turkey. We don't know. All right, how am I looking with time? All right, final story. Let me see if I can bring this up. So recently on Club Shay Shay, the show, the podcast hosted by NFL Hall of Famer and sports analyst Shannon Sharpe, recently was he had the opportunity to sit down and speak with former 8-time Mr. Olympia Ronnie Coleman. Now, for those who are not familiar who Ronnie Coleman is, he was by far and still is one of the most legendary figures in bodybuilding. I remember as a kid, I wanted to be big, and like, and swole like Ronnie Coleman. And we've always talked about Arnold Schwarzenegger. I believe Arnold Schwarzenegger won seven Mr. Olympias. But Ronnie Coleman is was the man to beat. Um, eight-time Mr. Olympia. You see this image of him right here. I mean, massive, 300 pounds, 300 pounds during his bodybuilding season and off season. He was weighing at 330. This man squatted 800 pounds, steel plates, deadlifted 800 pounds, steel plates. It was insane how much this man, how large it was and the impact that he brought to bodybuilding. Now, bodybuilding has always been like an interesting sport, might I say, because you always get the controversy. Are they on roids? Are they this? Are they that? Now, Arnold Schwarzenegger came out publicly, like, some during periods of his career. Yes, he used them. Now, I'm pretty sure these guys, especially during the Coleman era, they've got tested and came out negative. Ronnie Coleman has always been a iconic figure with the slogan is that's right, lightweight, ain't nothing but a peanut. Lightweight, baby, yeah. And he had a little voice like, yeah, man, yeah, like big huge guy, small southern voice. He was even a sheriff, I think, in his hometown too. So again, very well respected guy. Let me try and grab another photo of one of his iconic moments in his career. This was him against one of his rivals, Jay Cutler. And I'm not talking about Jay Cutler from the NFL. This gentleman, Jay Cutler, another former Mr. Olympia, who was he always fell short to to Ronnie Coleman. I think Jay Cutler might have maybe 3 or 4 Mr. Olympias, but not as many as Ronnie Coleman. Ronnie Coleman is a gentleman, the bald-headed gentleman, African American guy right there, and Jay Cutler's on the opposing side. Yeah, as a kid, I thought I could compete and become a bodybuilder. And there was a period during my younger years, I was training with bodybuilders. A gentleman, a good friend of mine, Chad Havinen, he was a local bodybuilder, and I used to the weight training, all that stuff, that wasn't bad. It was the dieting that sucked. You had to eat so many meals and calories, and I'm like, no, this ain't for me, man. But I still, I'm still working out. Got a trainer now, and just keeping it moving, keeping the physique looking good. But you gotta be careful, because you try to get to these guys' size, all your clothes are custom. You hear me? All your clothes are custom. Good luck finding some good clothes that you can say, oh yeah, this is swag right here. I can suits, everything is custom. Couldn't do it. But recently, Shannon got to exercise and also speak one-on-one with Ronnie Coleman. And since Ronnie has retired, because I believe Ronnie Coleman is 60 years old now, he's had countless surgeries. He's not the same Ronnie Coleman that we remember seeing on the stage. And if I can go ahead and find that video, I don't think I have it here. I don't. Let me see where that clip is at, because I'm looking at my time to see if ain't nothing but a peanut. And see if I can. Here we go. Yeah, got it right here. All right, Hold on. Hang tight, my friends. Hang tight. I'm gonna look at what time already I got. Still doing good with time. Let me go treasure hunting. Where's that soundbite? Yo, I tell you, you gotta love technology. You gotta love technology. So there we go. I got you. I got it now, y'all. I found it. So this was recently one of the sound bites from that interview, which I highly recommend to check it out when you get the chance. Club Shay Shay. That's the title of it. Club Shay Shay, hosted by Shannon Sharpe, NFL Hall of Famer, sports analyst. It's a quite successful show. So let me play this in the time that we have right now.
13 surgeries since 2017. Hip replacement, back, shoulder, neck. So 1996, you suffered a herniated disc.
Yep.
Waiting to address that.
Yep.
So now, Red, you almost paralyzed due to artificial support. You got 14 screws, 2 cages, 2 rods. In 2018, you had intestines pull the inserted screws out of your back. Had to go back in there. In 2019, had to fix 4 broken screws in your back.
Yep. 1 year I had 3 surgeries from broken screws. They said I weighed too much. I was too muscular for those screws. I found the doctor that had some better screws on my last surgery over in Fort Worth. I was going to this doctor in Dallas, and those screws just wasn't working for me.
Wasn't made for a man your size.
It wasn't made for a man my size. And I found out the hard way. I can remember like it was yesterday. I went into surgery. I went in the recovery room. I came out of recovery and went straight to my room. And about an hour later, the nurse came in. She's like, I need to check your bandages. She said, I need you to turn over. And I turned and pow.
Huh?
I'm like, Susan, did you hear that? She's like, yeah, I heard that. I'm like, what was that? I'm like, I don't know. And I turned back over again. Pow! I'm like, did you hear that? She's like, yeah, I heard that again. And I didn't think nothing of it till I went to the doctor 3 days later for a follow-up. He's like, man, those screws done broke again. We got have you do another surgery.
What?
I'm like, that's what that was when that nurse had me to turn over. That was those screws breaking right out of surgery.
That's malpractice.
Well, we tried to sue, and they was like, well, we can't take this case. They gonna side with the doctor. They're gonna say something like you've been working out and all this kind of stuff.
Wow.
So
that's
we
what they
had to drop
I sure would have went on up in there.
So that was just a little glimpse of that interview that Shannon Sharpe had with former 8-time Mr. Olympian Ronnie Coleman. And the question that I brought up was, do you think it was all worth it for Ronnie Coleman? Do you think the bodybuilding industry is worth it on the body for an individual? I'm not talking about physique. I'm talking about bodybuilding, powerlifting, all these sports. Now, I'm running a little low on time, my friends, but I'll continue this conversation on the next show. But do me a favor, continue to tune to the Arrington Gavin Show Monday through Fridays at 11 p.m. on WDJY 99.1 FM, Straight Talk, as well as on all podcast platforms and streaming platforms, YouTube, Rumble. Be sure to check out new episodes of the Arrington Gavin Show. Be sure you are registered to vote because early voting is happening now until November 2nd. And then November 5th is the grand finale. So make sure you are registered to vote. Make sure your friends and family, Lottie, Dottie, and everybody, make sure they all register to vote. Take care, my friends. Peace and blessings.